a secure and dry location. If you have a boat, please decide now where and how you'll secure it. Check your hurricane shutters, and if you don't have them, consider purchasing plywood. Stock up on hurricane supplies, non-perishable items including prescribed medication and personal sanitation items. And for more information, please visit our website at www.caymanprepared.ky. Be informed, make a plan, be prepared and stay safe, Cayman.
Now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Everywhere.
Can you hear me now?
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Good.
Yes, right from your Android or iPhone. Download the Radio Cayman app now on your Android or iOS phone.
The Radio Cayman app
is where you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere you go.
Everywhere we go, we go. Everywhere we go, we go.
Find it in the Google Store, the Apple Store, or use the link at www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Yes, now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter.
Radio Cayman on Twitter.
All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only two species that we have here on North Island.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Police are investigating an overnight collision. Just before 12:15 a.m. on Sunday, police and other emergency services were called to a report of a single vehicle collision along Seaview Road in East End. Police said the collision involved a green Honda Civic, and as a result of the collision, a light pole along with power lines fell into the street, which were across both lanes, causing an obstruction. The occupant of the vehicle was transported to the Cayman Islands Hospital for treatment for what was believed to be non-life-threatening injuries. He was treated and later released. The 27-year-old East End man was also arrested on suspicion of DUI and driving without being qualified. He was later bailed pending further investigations. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, Belgium could soon be overwhelmed by new coronavirus infections, the health minister has warned. Amid soaring case numbers across the country, Frank van der Broek said new cases were close to a tsunami where authorities no longer control what is happening. New measures to try to halt the spread came into force today. All bars and restaurants are closed for 4 weeks. And new coronavirus infections are growing rapidly across the U.S., experts say, with new hospital admissions also increasing around the country. Nearly 70,000 new cases were recorded on Friday, the highest number of new infections seen in one day since July. Cases have been trending upward for 48 states over the past week. Many of the hardest hit states are in the interior. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And let's have some open line. Have you share your thoughts with us? Does it feel like a manic Monday to you? Is it really one of those weird, dreary days where you say, man, Monday gets a bad rap and today is probably testament as to why it does? Well, let's change that narrative and help you flip the script. Well, I invite you to call and share your thoughts. 949-8037, 949-8037 or toll free with the compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. Thanks again for joining us. Thanks for sharing your thoughts and your comments with us. Now, there are probably a lot of things on your mind. We are hearing now that the government continues with the preliminary works relative to getting the dump all sorted. We're expecting an initial expenditure of $20 million. If you recall, sometime back, the number to eventually do the project over the ensuing period will probably approach the $500 million mark, if our memory serves us correctly. And I only share that to say that of all the things that are transpiring, even now in the midst of this particular environment in which we find ourselves, we're seeing that financially a lot of things are being considered and are probably being expected and certainly in some cases demanded. But as a fellow earlier today reminded us, if it's $500 million for the dump, it's $500 million being borrowed, to get us through this. If we're running in about another $500 million a year in expenditure, it's not too long before we realize that we're billions and billions and billions of dollars in debt, and it's successive generations. So if we understood what he was asking, let's see if we can repeat that and invite you to call and share your thoughts. To what extent, he says, is the country still paying attention to the need to develop its infrastructure properly, to be financially prudent with its measures, and to equally ensure that as we move forward, we're paying excellent attention to people's health and well-being. Now, as we continue, perhaps you may want to weigh in and share your thoughts with us. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. And of course, you can WhatsApp 925-3261. You can share your thoughts in all of these different avenues so that we can get it. And I had one point in time felt, I could easily multitask, but it's better, and the scientists say so, to focus on what is before you and do that properly. So as you call and share your thoughts, as the gentleman was saying, the notion that but for this scenario that we're facing here in Cayman and globally, and the utmost attention and respect for life and well-being, we have to ensure that that continues to be a priority. As we do everything we can to keep ourselves safe, we want to ensure that we're doing the same for others as well. Now, he shared that whether we like it or not, politics plays a role in every single thing. And he says, as we're looking at the election cycle, whether the ones that just passed in New Zealand, whether the one in the region, whether the upcoming U.S. election or our very own next year, we will gauge and measure the government. Now, will we do it at that time based on what is happening then? Will we take into account what is transpiring previously? And how will we weigh it? Will we be able to do it objectively, impartially, in a very reasoned, rational approach? Now, fiscal prudence, he says, is always key, because as we look at making provision for our communities, supporting our businesses, whether it's through some sort of bailout, as men have been prone to ask for. And he says it wasn't a long time in his generation that was seen as, the government coming in and nationalizing industries. That would even be seen as, approach that was not in keeping with the capitalist markets. But it seems to be now accepted if the recipients are, of a certain caliber or a certain, inkling. But that aside, are we still measuring the continued success, prosperity, and sustainability of a government's actions, not just for today, but how does that play out down the road? He further shared that if we're looking, at the issue at the school recently, the alarm and concern that it caused, maybe it was a good wake-up call to remind us that we shouldn't let our guards down, but maybe it was another, as he put it, attempt that instilled, greater fear into people. The numbers that have been tested since probably was good for us to be able to get a handle on it. But then how do we go about managing it, sending the information, ensuring that people receive, as quickly as possible their results, positive or otherwise, so that they can be, putting in our mind set that they can respond properly. Maybe you can get to their other activities, whether it's graduations, funerals, weddings, or other important things that were for them, one-off or once-in-a-lifetime sort of occurrences. And then if he says we look at the numbers that have been tested positive, primarily the majority are those who are coming to our shores. Now, continue to manage in it is, as he puts it, very, very, very crucial to our continued sort of health and well-being. But on top of that, he shares, where is the growing concern has been expressed by the global community that if we were to continue how we were doing previously, we're not only affecting people's lives and their livelihoods, their businesses, their ability to pay employees and ensure the continuity of their businesses, but people's health care, people's mental wellness, and not just the adults, but what about our children, and what would be our governments. And I thought he meant in that instance not just Cayman, but looking at the collection of people assembled from different jurisdictions. How would the respective governments respond if something was to happen? And what about the media? How objective is the media and reporting? Is it creating fear, whether consciously or otherwise, whether being sensationalistic in this reporting or otherwise, in order to attract a wider audience to its particular media house? But how responsible are we in our discussions? And he said, and perhaps I can ask this question because as he shared it, I'm becoming curious. He said that to his mind, there's nothing more polarizing, not the discussion of religion, of sexuality even, certainly not of politics or anything else. Nothing has been more polarizing, he found, than this discussion relative to, this scenario that we're facing. What do you think? Is it that it is polarizing? Is that because it's affecting people's health? Is it that they don't know what has transpired? And sometimes in the early days, there was a bit of confusion and perhaps even conflicting comments made as we, get the story straight, as they say. What does you think? Now, I hope it isn't that some of us has become, comments that we've heard over the time with, just so tired of hearing about this thing. No. Probably is, information fatigue. You get to a point where you hear something and you stop listening. But it doesn't mean that it's not important or that we should throw our arms up in defeat or we should just act in a way that could prove detrimental and irresponsible. But let's hear from her. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Now, as we were sharing, the whole notion of the continued sort of expenditure on the dump, whether it's called an integrated solid waste management system, whether it's called the Georgetown landfill, whether it's called whatever, the fact is that we all recognize that we have a role to play, that it's going to be a costly endeavor, and it's not only going to cost a lot to do it, it's going to cost money to maintain it. It's going to be even more costly if we continue to do nothing. But will it cost more if we do something and don't do it properly and completely and sufficiently so that we have something? Now, one comment that was made when he shared that perspective was, well, where is the change in society's sort of perspective relative to how we, use and discard the products that we use? Is there more that we can do other than recycling? Is there, not just sort of reuse and repurposing, not just reducing the consumption, but is there something more that we can do? And he said, as an example, their family, so they're only, he shared, household of 3, so it should be relatively easy. And as part of, one of the children, or I guess that was staying with them at the time, had a school project, catalog and quantify how much household waste the family generates, on a daily basis and then on a weekly and then for a 1 month period. So for a 30-day period, for one particular calendar month, they cataloged everything. And that task, he said, was in and of itself a bit laborious. But at the end of the day, got to realize that they actually were discarding a lot more than they realized. And even the attempts at recycling, they found it to be frustrating. Not just, how do you prepare the recyclables? And when you take it to recycling, is it accessible? Is it then available to you when you get there? Is it overflowing? And how is the environment to recycle? Then beyond that, when you had made a purchase and you thought, oh, well, this is plastic or otherwise it can be recycled, to realize no, it can't, because there's a number system. Now, it was interesting on what he shared. As you go through a break, we'll invite you to call and share your thoughts with us. And when we come back, well, test their phone lines and see if they're up and running. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs, with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
Maintaining a strong mind and body through sports and general healthy living is a good course of action. But what about your spiritual man, your inner man? He has to be awakened, fed, exercised, strengthened, and led according to the will of God. So, have you heard the call? I'm Evangelist Brother Joseph Joey Ebanks, and I'm inviting you to worship Wednesday and Thursday nights at 7:30. We are bringing the Word of God to our communities as Jesus commanded. Faith comes by hearing. So come and hear. Bring your own chair or simply park and listen to the Word of God from your vehicle, covering the Cayman Islands with the Word of God, one community at a time.
Have you heard the call? We'll be in Central Bordentown by the post office October the 21st and 22nd.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Rotary Central Music Extravaganza tickets are moving like a hold glass of swanky on a hot Cayman Brack day. Get your tickets now from Rotary Central members, Rotary ticket sellers, eventpro.ky, Funky Tanks, A.L. Thompson's Home Depot, Mango Tree Restaurant, Seabirds Bar, Eastern Avenue, Tashara Lewis in Cayman Brack. Get your golden tickets. Get ready to be a winner. Stand your chance to win $40,000. Second prize $4,000. 6 $1,000 prizes and more. The Music Extravaganza 2020. Building bus shelters throughout the Cayman Islands, supporting over 70 Rotary community projects. Rotary Central, not-for-profit number 232. Rotary opens opportunity.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks again for joining us. And I have the good company of DJ Paul Akal, who sits, as I said to him, maybe I can encourage him to jump in the mic. It's not like he's, a stranger or in any way intimidated by that, microphone that sits in front of him. You've seen him out and about. Akal, welcome on. Why don't we introduce you to the talk to the audience since you're able to fill in. How are you, my friend?
Well, good afternoon, Dwayne.
No, don't be playing that, man. But I had an interesting week. And it seemed like from Monday to today, it's one and the same. Every day blended into the next, the same level of anxiety and apprehension of, on the part of many, the idea that they don't seem to have enough time, even if they're, nothing to do, so to speak. The anxiousness, the concern, the worry, the trepidation. But I see you smiling always and just relaxing. So life is good with you?
So far, so good. Can't complain.
Let me ask you, as we make sure the phones are up and running and everything is working properly, let me ask you, if I may, trying to gauge the society's sort of sentiments and deliberately and consciously trying to avoid certain quarters and certain topics so that it doesn't seem contentious nor political, not always possible. But it would appear that people are feeling that, what's next? And, oh man, 2020. And it is that mindset. So very carefully, because I don't want to invite you into my rabbit hole and put you in any, precarious position. But I reached out to, one of those sort of academically gifted individuals who, by her admission is a lifelong student, and has shared that she garnered across the information from many media sources. She's gleaned that it would appear that the response by governments, by agencies and organizations, by influential people is one that could be perceived as, well, we're at the top of this food chain, we know more, we know better, we'll tell you. So you just fall in line and march like good little boys and girls. Is that an unfair comment to make, or is that an improper question to pose to you? Do you think that's how we would see globally, that the response generally is that, control, manipulation, fear, instill fear, and create within people a sense that they should fall in order or else?
Putting man from frying pan into the fire with that one.
No, man. These are the things that pensive minds ponder. Is it because as she sort of posited that to me, I thought, these are the times when you kind of wish that people were in front of you, the video chat or the audio conversation doesn't do it justice. But then when you look at people who look at things, who have, as she shared, the luxury to look at things, or sometimes are being paid to look at things, no, if I can use the phrase, no horse in the race, just what is happening. You see the other day a number of physicians, was it the Barrington Declaration, I think it was been called, coming together and saying, as public health officials, as scientists, as virologists and the like, we need to now be very, very mindful how we continue to speak about this, how we put information out, how we avoid whatever the political, not necessarily the political in whatever sense we may have a negative connotation, attraction it is to impose lockdowns and curfews and the like. But we need to make sure that we look after people's health and well-being, because the impact, I saw a study that says, over the next 5 years, you're looking at about, almost $100 trillion
wow.
to the global economy. That's going to be the cost of this thing. So $20 trillion a year. Now, I went and count my money in my piggy bank. I didn't have that much. So you might have it. That's a lot of money, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then there's a financial aspect. There's the loss of life. There's the loss of enjoyment in life. There's potential the early demise because some people don't respond well to certain things. There's the arrogance that you see displayed by different people, whether it's the person, the gatekeeper at the door, where you can't come in now, just wait, you come in when I tell you. Whether it's the political person at the top of the political food chain, whether it's the person who's the puppet master pulling the strings of the political person, or whether it's the benefactor, whatever that is, right? Does that create, within society, greater division and discord?
It certainly does. I think people just need to open your mouths, speak, get it off your mind. Don't hold things back.
Yeah.
This is the time now to really speak up about these things,
But if you do you think that, one, they'll be listened to, and two, will there be a comment without consequence? I mean, someone gets up today and says something, whatever, even if it's a positive comment about how something handles, you got probably people say, oh, they're probably getting paid to say that. Or if they get up and they say something that is critical, perhaps very constructive, very true, they might say, always an naysayer. So do you think that we possess within, even if we're limited to the Cayman context or the Caribbean community, possess the wherewithal to be objective in what we say, but also to be objective and impartial, rational and reasonable in what we hear. It's on a Monday, man.
It's only Monday.
Oh, and all right, go ahead.
I have several answers to that. But I mean, we could speak what's on our hearts and on what's in our minds. But will the right person hear it? Will they take action?
And that's the thing. But what is it then that and this is not necessarily a question for you. Please weigh in if you wish. Thank you for keeping my company. I find that it's better when you're talking to someone listening and they can respond. Otherwise, people may look at you and go, time for them to see Dr. Lahi, but different story. The question, though, is it that we are at a time and a space when it is now incumbent on us to, as you said, speak up, speak out, stand in the gap, which we hear being called, those in the church. People say, where are the Daniels? But are people willing to, very sincerely, without any sort of ulterior motive, right? Even if they were saying, listen, you know what, I feel so inclined that I'm going to get involved with this organization. Maybe it's a church group, maybe it's the school group, maybe it's a political group, because nobody's doing this thing that person or group believes needs to be done. Or are we going to just say what we're going to say, mumble it to ourselves in the confines of our backyards, but never in a way that it can gain traction? Are we at a point now where we're willing to speak out?
This is where we got to stand up on our soapbox and say what we got to say. You got to take risks.
Okay.
And without risks, there won't be any change.
You know what? I'm glad you said that. Let me see if I can find. I'm gonna try to find it, and if I find it, I can see if I can see it to read it.
There are some people who like to, as they say, stir the ant's nest.
Yeah.
It's
interesting that you said that. Right? Yeah. What's sort of thing about the ant's nest? Can I just read this one to us? I know many of us have seen this many times long ago, and take a second for those listening. Here's an invitation to share your thoughts. I won't take responsibility for your actions, and you will be held accountable for what you say, but I should encourage you, right? And I'm going to come back after I say this, going to ask a question on Akal. We talk about civil servants, and we talk about private sector employees being muzzled and the like, right? Remind me if that, to ask for that. But this thing says, if you collect 100 black ants and 100 red ants, you said ants, so it reminded me, right? And you put them in a glass jar, so nothing will happen. But if you take the jar, shake it violently, and leave it on the table, the ants will start killing each other. The red ants believe that the black ant is the enemy, while the black ant believes that the red ant is the enemy, when the real enemy is the person who shook the jar, right?
Correct.
And when you analyze society, you see the same thing that's happening over and over. Men and women, left and right, rich and poor, faith versus those who are science-based. And the sad part is that we're fighting each other as opposed to trying to find out who rocked the jar, right?
Correct.
Now, if we're doing that, how is it then that we know this thing, see this thing, but we still continue to beat up on each other?
It's just human nature.
But why? I mean,
I don't know.
Is it the same in animals? I mean, I didn't watch those animal shows much, but do they not? Ants work wonderfully together.
They do.
Right?
Yeah.
And yet, as people, seemingly an intelligent being, we can't seem to do anything other than tear down.
So we're like crabs in a barrel. Yeah. You gotta learn to work together.
All right. But then let me ask that, right? And again, not for you to respond, and I don't want anybody. And I will invite you, because those who know you know your disposition, very objective, not anything vitriolic by any means, right? So we understand that as people who work for the government in whatever capacity, whether it's a government-owned company, whether it's a statutory authority, and definitely if it's core government as a civil servant, you labor under some mentality and mindset that you don't have a voice nor a brain, and certainly want to be exercised publicly. I don't believe that is the mantra. If it was ever, I don't believe it is what it is now, right? People want, and I don't believe anybody working for anybody would say anything that would bite the hand that feeds them, so to speak, right? But what if the same thing is occurring in the private sector? And even so, more so. So as an example, fella said he is working for a particular large organization and told very specifically, you have a responsible job, but as your employer, you're forbidden, and we want you to sign this in the contract that you can't do this, this, and this. Now, these are not things in terms of being drunk and disorderly in the public. This isn't anything about engaging in certain behaviors that would make the organization look bad, or take on certain clients and whichever, right? This is no participation in public political discussions, without prior approval. If you're going to serve on some board, there's a political appointed board, it can't be these boards that are more public you can serve on. Perhaps these are the ones, but you can't serve in these. You can't comment to the media. You can't be a guest. Now, I'm told that this is a very real occurrence in the private sector, for some people anyway. Now, if that's the case, is this a free and fair society? Is this a democracy? If that's the case,
I think it just boils down to this is above your pay grade, or this isn't above your pay grade. Keeping it right there like that.
Okay. But then, and I recognize the break is coming, right? But with your sort of acquiescence, the notion is, how do we advance a society if the people are A, unwilling or unable to think and talk publicly, B, we have failed to invest in their overall development. From the early days of education that talks about the critical thinker, to the maturing of the person, where they understand a sense of responsibility. So, for instance, we may look at our roads and we may say, well, you know what? We got to put certain barricades, certain restrictions to make sure that the road isn't taken as a racetrack. Or we got to install cameras or have 1,000 police officers just lining the streets constantly because people just don't know how to behave themselves or whichever, right? What instead could a society not be one where you're not living in a place where you're constantly watching each other, but you live in a place where there's a healthy respect? So, for instance, you have a yard sale, just as an example, and you're going to sell furniture, you're going to sell whatever items of clothing that you plan to get rid of, maybe some extra fruits that you had in your garden. You put them on your driveway, by your front lawn or whatever, and one box, a little basket, people put the money in and they take the item. Now, is this naive? Is this too of an idealistic society and unattainable to have that, where you drive across and you go, oh, that's an old rocking chair, I like that, it reminds me of my great-grandfather's, and you go and you get it and it says X amount of money on it, and you take it and you put it in, or or will you come and go, nobody's here, well, let me grab this and grab this and grab that? I mean, which society would be preferred? Did we have the former? And if not, what are we doing about it if we have the one where people would take the items and the money in the basket and probably go in the house and take everything there too? I mean, just because we live in this time of progress, we expect to see more crime. Just because you heard this from many people, growing unemployment, you're expecting to see more crime. But why? Why should one lead to the other? Progress isn't certainly measured by increased crime, right? Anyway, you want to weigh in on that?
We're such strange creatures, man, Dwayne. Humans are such strange creatures.
You think so, huh?
Yeah.
I thought just SBS, man. But anyway, let's pause and take a break. When you come back, you want to call and be the first to get a candy? You want to before thoughts with us? Well, let's hear from you. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
When my land up a JN, me get the money card with them. Just show them your ID and give them your TRN. Go and use at the ATM or swipe instead then. And when you need more cash, and make your family send it in a flash. From abroad to card, get the JN Money Card. It's safe, convenient, and free. JN Money Card only available and used in Jamaica. Call 345-945-2014 for details.
Hey, hun, what you doing?
Putting things away in the shed since it's hurricane season. You know, preparing for the better.
Don't you mean preparing for the worst?
No, for the better. Since we have Brit-K Insurance, we're fully covered against hurricanes. Plus, they have response teams ready to help us file a claim faster. If I were preparing for the worst, I'd watch football all day.
Still don't get it.
Isn't there a match on?
Oh, really?
Let Brit-K prepare you for the better this hurricane season. Call 949-8699 or visit britk.ky.
Hi, this is Danny Coleman, Director of Hazard Management Cayman Islands. We're about to enter the height of the hurricane season, and given that we've already seen a significant amount of activity in the Atlantic this year, we're really asking the public to get ready for the next few months. Some tips of getting ready: be informed and know your risks associated with the high winds as well as storm surge. Find out how high your home is above the sea level and the flooding history. If you have any new buildings or roads that have been constructed near you, this could impact levels of flooding that you may not have previously experienced. Determine where you, your family and your pets will shelter in a storm. Know where the public shelters are, and if you have medical needs, be sure to go to a shelter that is a designated emergency medical centre. Make sure your home, car and property insurance, as well as your passports and other important documents, are up to date and that you have copies and photographs in a secure and dry location. If you have a boat, please decide now where and how you will secure it. Check your hurricane shutters, and if you don't have them, consider purchasing plywood. Stock up on hurricane supplies, non-perishable items including prescribed medication and personal sanitation items. And for more information, please visit our website at www.caymanprepared.ky. Be informed, make a plan, be prepared and stay safe, Cayman.
Radio Cayman News.
We do have a very concerning situation.
6 positives, 5 are travelers, 1 a child at Red Bay Primary School.
This child is weakly positive.
We understand any concerns parents and guardians may have.
We have the abilities, we have the capacities, we have the skills to respond to these issues, clamp down on them.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. You want to WhatsApp 925-3261 as we invite you to call and share your thoughts with us. You got a Paula Cal sitting in a chair opposite me. We're separated by, if I look at it correctly, there must be a 3 foot thick wall. You think?
About that?
Yeah,
3 feet. Yeah.
About 3 feet thick, double pane glass on both sides, padded, so you can draw your inferences. And so we were exercising, distancing long before distancing was being exercised, no? Well, I say that in jest, but I'm very grateful that the team here really came on has always been very conscientious relative to keeping the environment clean for staff and for guests as well. So, the sanitizing may have been increased significantly, but it was always heavily practiced here. And I think that's probably the environment I know. But Carl, honestly, when you look at some places, if even the Cayman, many of us now have been reminded nicely that we could do a lot with respect to our personal hygiene in terms of our hand washing in particular. Some of us are probably a little bit, maybe, washing a little bit too often, but maybe you can never wash too much, right? So maybe that's a one good thing of this. Perhaps the other good thing is that maybe we come to appreciate what is truly important. Maybe we will recognize that if for some people it's all about greed, how much money they can make. They may be looking at, the last, sort of three quarters and saying, well, we've done well. This is the best the business has ever been. Now, is that because they're overcharging people? Is it because they're in a monopoly situation? Is it because they've been able to streamline their operations? I don't know. What do you think, P?
I know for some people, this COVID has worked for some, whereas for others, it's been a financial disaster.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
And that's the thing, as we look at this, I'm interested in waiting for 5-10 years from now. Hopefully we'll see it sooner, but the the classroom instruction of all the subjects, because it has to touch, governance and, the health care sector. It has to touch economics and the financial implications, the sort of social sciences, and how those classes and subjects are going to be taught, not just whether students are physically present otherwise, but the curriculum, the discussions, the analysis. Probably not unlike even today, when some in economics may look back to the depressions and recessions of past, but how we're managing and responding, and how we have been, for some, draconian almost, insensitive and ill-timed with their information, and not being forthcoming, I think, sometimes with respect to what is shared and to whom. So for those listening, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. You can use the toll-free line, and you can call and share if you prefer. You can shut us on another number as well. But as you were saying, this has been, in most instances, bad for many on their health and their well-being, on their financial situation, probably even on their social situation, their relations amongst their family and friends. But do you think then that we are becoming complacent, or have we just become frustrated with what seemingly is a heavy-handed, autocratic, almost a dictatorship-like approach by some, even though they try to sell it as if a guise of compassion and humanity, but they just want you to do because they can tell you to do.
I don't see any. What's the word I'm looking for? So far, so good. Everything is fine. I don't see any underhandedness going on,
Yeah, man. Well, that is encouraging. I mean, we always want to look for the best in everything, But what about the whole issue of self-praise and backslapping? I'm trying to remember how the fella shared with me that you look around in certain quarters.
Patting your back.
Everybody congratulating everybody else, but it's like the first 5 minutes of the game, you got a 90-minute game, you scored the opening goal and you started to celebrate like you won. Well, you got you got a long game ahead. You just caught the team off guard and you scored your first goal. Now, you can play defense if you want, but they can easily come back and put 2 more in quickly, or just go for the draw and win. So with that in mind, now, somewhat we're approaching Christmas. There is still the notion that we're relatively safe, but seemingly all of the tests recently, if not all of them, seems like all of them, have been from people coming back. Now, I won't, unless someone wishes to engage in it, I won't, talk about whether the tests are accurate, whether they're designed for what they are, what they mean. I leave that, like I said, someone else is on a different pay grade. And, whether they're false positives and this and that, the next thing. But if you're bringing people and you're testing, now, I see Cayman as having pretty much the same temperature all year round. So there really isn't any season other than hot and hottest, right? So I never subscribe to this idea of a flu season, because you put things like that out there and then you develop this thing and it becomes par for the course, right? Mm-hmm. But unlike other jurisdictions that have seriously cold weather at certain times of the year, their lifestyle, the diet, the lack of exercise, lack of sunshine, fresh air and other contributing factors may make them more prone to colds. We never had a flu season in Cayman, but we talk about it as if, it's coming up. Yeah. And then as we bring people in, and potentially are we putting the populace at risk and on doing all of...
Very much so.
Yeah. So how do we respond? I mean, is this a game that we're willing to play with some because it's name?
I've seen a plus with the Caymanian people here. I've seen a lot of people that are exercising, getting about, exercising, walking their dogs. I don't know how they're doing at home, if they're taking their vitamins daily, their supplements to keep healthy. I believe that is a strong play for us, staying healthy.
Exactly. But then again, too, though, with that in mind, and maybe I misunderstood my physician's advice way back when. I know I didn't follow it. Eat properly and balanced meal, get exercise and sunshine, sleep, and take your vitamins, right?
Yeah, and good old Caymanian bush medicine.
Yeah, and go to the
grass tea and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah, man, and go in the sea and get some good sunshine and stuff like that. So when I think that's what I was told way back when, and then I look at today and realize well, partly because of supply and demand, partly because of maybe the control of the free market to some extent, but vitamin C, which was on all the shelves and didn't cost a whole lot. Now you can't get it. When you get it, you're paying 3-4 times more than what it was just a few months ago. There may be economic forces at play. Fair enough. But then come back to the Cayman context. And if you live in Cayman and you're not allowed, let's say something was to transpire and the beach becomes off limits. Now, that would be most unfortunate, right?
Very much, yeah.
And you can't go outside, you can't, I mean, to see, for instance, two things that I've come to learn recently. One, in one of, the other sort of islands not far from here to which we have, some level of interaction, I'm told that if you live there, you're a resident, a citizen, or whatever, a local, they have certain measures in place. You can't go to the beach. No. But if I visit there as a visitor, a tourist, then I can go to the beach. I can go whenever, wherever. But if you live there, you can't go to the beach. There are restrictions on your movement. Now, again, maybe there's a scientific explanation. The visitor and the tourist, is immune from getting this thing. They can go to the beach. But you live in the work there and that's your home. You can't. I'm not good at sarcasm, so.
Well, that's unnecessary.
All right. And look at the behaviors of some communities, as I'm told by some people who are living where the communities now are deciding to get together. We should fence our neighborhood. We should put in gates and the like in higher security. Now, unless I don't understand, too much about science, but this virus not gonna come in the form of, some boogerman that could present it. So gating your community and putting up a security guard won't keep the virus out, right? All right, let's pause and take a break. When we come back, more talk today.
Are you constantly cleaning your home or office
and spending less time on business or with family?
H&A Janitorial Services is offering residential and commercial cleaning starting at just $11 per hour per cleaner for a limited time only. Buy 2 cleaning, get the third free. That's buy 2 cleanings and get the third free. From deep cleaning services to upholstery, carpets, windows, tiles, and grout, H&A uses antibacterial cleaning products to ensure a spotless, sanitized environment. Call H&A Janitorial 743-2875 or 324-0879 and ask how you can get your third cleaning absolutely free. Terms and conditions apply.
After a hurricane, do not use the public water supply until the Water Authority advises that it is safe to do so. If the water supply becomes contaminated and unsafe to drink, the authority will issue a boil water notice. To comply with the notice, boil water vigorously for 4 to 5 minutes and let it cool before drinking. For more useful hurricane preparedness tips, visit the Water Authority's website at www.waterauthority.ky or follow us on social media.
Maintaining a strong mind and body through sports and general healthy living is a good course of action. But what about your spiritual man, your inner man? He has to be awakened, fed, exercised, strengthened, and led according to the will of God. So, have you heard the call? I'm evangelist Brother Joseph Joey Ebanks, and I'm inviting you to worship Wednesday and Thursday nights at 7:30. We are bringing the Word of God to our communities as Jesus commanded. Faith comes by hearing. So come and hear. Bring your own chair or simply park and listen to the Word of God from your vehicle, covering the Cayman Islands with the Word of God, one community at a time.
The Fall 2020 Labor Force Survey is currently being conducted by the Economics and Statistics Office. The Labor Force Survey collects data on employed and unemployed persons. Trained interviewers with ESO ID cards will visit randomly selected households in all districts. The interviewers will exercise appropriate COVID-19 protocols using personal protective equipment. The interviews are confidential in accordance with the statistics law. No individual data will be published or disclosed. Survey data are exempt from freedom of information. For more details, please call the ESO on 516-3329.
The Cayman Islands Seafarers Association would like to inform all members that there will be a general meeting on Tuesday, 20th October at 7:30 p.m. in the Seafarers Hall, located on 11 Victory Avenue in Prospect. Transportation will be provided as follows. 3 buses will leave from the West Bay Town Hall at 6 p.m. The Barnes bus route in Georgetown leaves the public library parking area at 6:45, stopping at the Cayman Compass building and the Airport Fosters. The bus marked Bobo $1 public transport and is blue in color will do pickups from British Caymanian, Uncle Bill's, Walkers Road, Shedden Road and Crew Road. The bus from East End will do pickups from the primary school parking lot, the gas station and wreck of the 10 Sails starting at 5:45. In North Side, pickups will be at Chisholm's store and the football field starting at 6:15 p.m. Bordentown pickups at Lorna's gas station at 6:45 and Savannah pickups is at the gas station at 7. Also, please note that the nomination forms for the 2021 National Heroes Day Awards for Seafaring Heritage are available at our office and online at www.celebratecayman.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It is 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Hi, how was your Monday? As a friend sent me and said, it's Monday, not Doomsday. Be thankful. All right, let's go to the phone. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
How are you today, my friend?
Well, sir. How you doing, sir?
Oh, bless. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, man. Can you hear me?
Listen, man, you're like as if you sit next to me and, otherwise than that, I'm at the tiller and you're by the board, so we're all good to go.
Yeah, man. I enjoy my Monday off, in my favorite space during this little overcast and rain. So I only caught the first part of your show up until when the young lady called with the tragedy in the back there. And then I was off for about an hour or so. And I only just got back on, and I'm not quite sure who you're speaking with or what, but I did hear. Are you talking about the pandemic or something? I'm not sure what you're talking about because I wanted to share something, but I didn't want to interrupt. I don't know if I'm off or whether it's open.
No, man, it's open and you never interrupting, and if you were and you were bringing chocolate, that'd be acceptable as well,
Yeah, man. No, I just wanted to speak with you, rap with you a little bit,
Let's go right ahead, man. I'm ready. I'm willing.
And it's about the pandemic, really, and our efforts surrounding trying to get more visitors to the country and doing so safely. Now, if you follow me on social media, I'm very much support the government's efforts in regards to what we're doing and have high confidence in them because of what they've done. But it's only recently I was thinking about it, and I'm kind of thinking our smallness made it, I suppose, much more possible for us to live the kind of environment that Cayman is living right now in regards to, not having masks and that sort of thing. And I'm kind of thinking perhaps it could be the same thing that we use to capitalize on making something that's very custom for us. So what I've seen so far and observe that we're operating, or the lines that we're going along, we're observing other countries and what they have done, particularly those that are from the region, and kind of taking it piecemeal from that particular area. We're looking at what works and what doesn't, and thankfully working hard the whole entire thing of trying to, monitor those who are staying at home and that sort of thing. But I was thinking, what if we seem to be on all of those efforts that we're doing kind of supports the whole notion of we're trying to get to a place of operating some way until we get to a vaccine or otherwise. And that seems to be the model that most countries are working towards in the midst of this lockdown, partial open up in that sort of way. And I was thinking the other day, and I even shared it with a colleague of mine, and they said, wow, it's interesting. And I've been just thinking about it more, but it's about how can we maybe shift the way that we think about it and utilize the fact that we're small and much more manageable in many respects. We're small, but then we're big. And trying to think out of the box about how we can do it much more in favor of getting people here. So coming up with our own processes for making, and I know that's what that team has been doing, but again, I think they've been doing it more from the standpoint of what other places have been doing versus, I don't know, have they looked at how we can, I don't know, open it up where we having people pre-screened for 2 to 3 days prior. And I mean, I'm sure that we've looked at that, or maybe we haven't, and in a strong view, thinking of expanding Cayman Airways routes and really working those angles heavily, and utilizing our local hotels to help in that process. I'm throwing it out to you. I'm hoping you're getting what I'm saying. I'm not doing a very good job.
No, man, I'm following you, and if I can in any way add into the conversation, I think that what you say, we're looking at how we can make sure that what we think is uniquely sort of the Caymanian perspective is probably what brought us to this juncture, from decades ago. What I think it was lost in translation and deliberately probably put, not even on the table, but probably just taken off and not even put on the back burner because people had, in their minds all the answers. Mm-hmm. So the thing,
a different vision.
Yeah. And given, as you said, the size, the geographical size, the actual physical size of the population, whether that conversation that probably took place so long ago about, whether we should be at 100 or 200,000 people, it was never to include the Caymanians and the impact on the Caymanian society and its fabric. And now that that's coming to the fore, how is that going to play out? Is it going to be one that says we're bringing people there because they got money? Is it that we're bringing them because they have a certain skill set? Are we looking at their disposition? Are we looking at the geographic composition, in terms of the population demographic, right? And then...
Go ahead.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm following you. I mean, that's an interesting angle that you brought to it, and perhaps one that certainly gels with the whole notion of, right now we're limiting it to 800 people, and it's predominantly those who are either, have invested here in a house or otherwise and staying long term. But you're drawing that a little further,
right?
And it could resemble the model that could have been had we been much more studious about what our vision was, is right. What I heard.
But let's take it one step further, right? Let's ask the question. And unfortunately, I don't think people generally. No, I shouldn't say that. Let me put it this way. Let me put it directly. People who are in a position of authority generally believe that they have an obligation to share information in a timely way with others because they've always acted in a heavy-handed, sort of arrogant, condescending tone. Well, what are you questioning me for? And that could be sometimes the parent with the child, the teacher with the pupil. It could be the politician with the populace. It could be the advisors to the politician, whether they're appointed or otherwise. And unfortunately, there's a growing lack of humility. There's a scripture talks about, honor, humility before honor, right? And as I look at the Cayman context, if we're told, let's assume that what is being said is true. Can I repeat what you just said? We're limited to 800. So there's a limit as to the numbers that can come in. And if this number is supposed to represent people that have some sort of means of independently taking care of themselves, have a place to stay for long term, then are we incorrectly assuming that these are people of wealth? What if, if we were to look at it closely, and in the absence of very, very clear, accurate, timely information being disseminated so we can digest it, analyze it, and comment, what if in that group of 800 people, instead of the assumption being that, oh, well, they're all wealthy people, they're all living in these, places, either they're rented long-term or they own, what if in that there is John, Mary, Peter, Sue, and James, and everybody else that prior to coming to Cayman, they could knock two nickels together, but they may be boyfriend or girlfriend or connected to somebody who is on a work permit or who is somehow connected to somebody somewhere down the line. And so what the populace think is the reality is in fact completely, not, right?
Interesting.
And not saying that these people because they're rich are any better, or these people because they're not rich are any worse. But what if the people in the public believe and what is actually transparent isn't one and the same, right? And what if this person can come here because they know how to manipulate and manage the system, but this person can't? But they're both from the perspective of age, experience, and economic background, two peas in a pod.
Interesting, Sterling. Very interesting. And I mean, I'm glad you said it, but.
And I don't to think of that.
Let me cover you though. The truth is,
listen, dap in the hole for you.
I heard what you said, bro.
Yeah.
But what I'll say to that is very true. Very true. And listen, and I know. Let me just end it because I don't want to waffle on, and I know you're coming up to your.
Well, I was going to ask you if you wanted to join us after the break, but I don't want to impose on you. So if you want to make a point, happy to listen to you. If you want to stay on, happy to engage you.
Oh man. All right, I'll hold for a little dollar.
Okay, yeah, but don't lose your train of thought. Okay, we're gonna pause and take a break. What will this caller say? Will it be inflammatory? Will it be? No, just kidding. Just listen. He's a good guy. He's gonna share a thought with us when we come back. Let's hear what he has to say.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman, one radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only two species that we have, on the island.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Cask Karate will make history this weekend as the first and only karate school in the Caribbean to take part in the 100 Katas for Karate Day. The event will be held this Sunday, October 25th on 7 Mile Beach, Governor's Beach at 6 a.m. There will be over 300 dojos worldwide participating in this event, hosted from Okinawa, Japan. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. China's economy continues its recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, and that's according to its latest official figures. The world's second biggest economy saw growth of 4.9% between July and September compared to the same quarter last year. However, the figure is lower than the 5.2% expected by economists. And French police have raided the homes of dozens of suspected Islamic radicals following the beheading of a teacher who showed controversial cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad to his pupils. Some of those being questioned are believed to have posted messages of support for the killer of Samuel Paty. The government also said it was probing 51 French Muslim associations. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to my good friend for staying on the line and keeping the company and sparking the conversation. Who knows, by tomorrow, maybe somebody else sitting here hosting the show, but let's see what happens. Hey, good afternoon, man. Thanks for...
Good afternoon, Sterling. Thanks so much. No worries, man. Yeah, boy, you really got to have me thinking over that break. But I'm gonna expand that thought because it is something to explore. Now, I'm gonna preface it though by saying I think we both are very cognizant, and I share the Premier's words in his last press conference, or second to last, when we had the little scare there at Red Bay, where he said, for those people who are out there who are thinking that this government, and his government, I suppose he's talking about, or government which he leads, is going to at any point in time open the borders up and make Cayman susceptible to the situations that's going on around us, are kidding themselves, and they can take that out of notion. I share that wholeheartedly. But as I said, this energy that I've recently kind of tapped into, it has to do with the fact that we are small, and we've managed the pandemic in amazing ways. So if we work from that basis, that we're not talking about compromising the very real situation we're in, maybe we could look more closely at really fine-tuning this model that we've started and expanding it a little bit, and how can we grow some additional arms to include. So let me give you a quick example. I know, for example, having worked up by March Tortuga, for example, when I managed the business up that way, that's a much more dedicated, and I just use them as an example, that is a much more dedicated and perhaps the closest model to almost an all-inclusive. It doesn't do our economy a whole great deal when you kind of pitch from that angle, but it is, and they know their residents, they know the people who come there repeatedly, quite well. Could we work closer with some of these hoteliers, and we come from a different angle and kind of say to them, and in the case of using the Moritz, hey, how can we best manage your people and get them here? Maybe, and so it wouldn't take 1 week. It may mean 2 months in advance. Each person that's planning on coming here is starting that preparation process from 2 months in advance. We've learned that this may be with us for a while. We need to maybe start looking at that model from a different perspective, rather than waiting on a vaccine or therapeutics or what have you.
Right.
How can we capitalize and make it much more conducive to what we want? And perhaps we're creating something that is almost patentable and could be an envy again. And we've always been trailblazers.
Exactly.
In many respects, our financial services is a good reflection of that reality.
Yeah.
And Cayman save our tourism industry and some of the pitfalls that you highlighted so eloquently earlier about, or reminding us about how we could have perhaps drawn the circles a little differently back then, and many people shared that for a long time. Missed maybe that opportunity, and yeah.
But as I listen to,
we can throw the controversial things in, like, truly, I would have loved to have seen much more of the training programs for people like Caymanians who want to get into the hotel industry and that sort of thing. We can throw those in, but the whole notion of trying to expand that 800 to maybe be 8,000 or what have you, and what would that look like, and can we still maintain the integrity of this very protective bubble that we all are enjoying?
Okay.
I'm sure we all are enjoying it, if you get what I'm saying.
Follow you, but and to the other call online, just respectfully, maybe one quick comment here, or 2 parts. Remember way back when many, not just during this administration, not just during the cruise ship, or the harbour debate with dredging the harbour and putting in whatever we were putting in a $1 billion project there. And the referendum, many were advocating that the steward tourists is where the money at, but also the cruise ships in and of themselves, large numbers on a small space, petri dish for disease and sort of virus transmission, right?
Yeah, wasn't even thinking about them, but go ahead.
And again, the inability for us to focus extensively, as we should have in the past, on the stay over, that long-term person who's coming and going to spend an extended time. We see Cuba, we see the European traveler being able to do that, not only because it's the nature of how they vacation, or the fact that it's a long-haul flight and they want to spend a lot longer in a destination. But then when we look at that, and we're looking at the potential job loss, we're even hearing publicly people who are saying they were working in a hotel or some hospitality sector related job and were laid off in order for the person on a work permit to remain in the employ. Something is, if that is true, and
they're wrong.
Yeah, right. And then on top of that, the question of this bubble, are we gradually poking holes in our bubble that are going to create a problem, and then they being those who are in authority will come in with a have-a-handed approach and say, well, boy, we got to lock it down again. right?
I'm hearing about, I would hope that they would be part and parcel, if not driving any sort of conditions, like I was just sharing about, in terms of what those measures, what possibilities there are. If the energy was caught and the thoughts that I'm having are caught on, then we can hopefully they are part of that partnership. I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable if the private sector was driving it straight up.
Yeah, exactly.
In my view, would be, if that was the case, we'd probably have much more Cayman inside at the hospital. So, I would hope the government is part and parcel.
Well, what's interesting though, and people can take it what they want. They want to beat me up for it. Fair enough. It don't really matter. I can meet them in the ring if they wish. The notion, right, that opportunities like this that are presented to societies, irrespective of how they're constructed or otherwise, circumscribed, the notion that this presents an opportunity for change and change for better, right? Yes. So the people who are in leadership, political leadership, business leadership, civic leadership, sometimes this is a chance to challenge their mettle. Sometimes it's a chance to remove them. This is a chance to improve them, right? Yeah. Because the same tried and true tested method may not always be the most conducive to the prevailing winds, right?
Of course.
And something as simple as using the same catboat but changing the mask even in the sail, you can keep the sea. And
so
maybe.
We had 30,000 people here a month as a stayover prior to this, and could we maybe look at making it more along the lines of 10 or 15 or maybe 10,000 and seeing how that goes and working that model? It certainly will provide much more. We just need to be able to think about it, and we have some excellent minds here, both in the tourism industry in terms of the intricacies. Now, I recognize there's a lot of stuff in the midst of that. You're talking about how do you manage somebody prior to they getting to the border. So that's what you're looking at. And looking at that seriously, but we have the we have the one caveat, if you will, that many of our Caribbean partners don't have in this regard. We have a national carrier that we can limit it. We can even direct it to particular gates. We can make it specific to specific gates in terms of how we're operating it. There's lots of variables that we could look at, man.
Yeah, man.
And I know you have another person on the call.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Thanks, too. Thanks for the engage.
All right. As usual, always appreciate it. We'll chat with you soon.
Thanks.
Blessings. Listen, thank you for your patience and holding on. Thank you for calling and good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you doing?
I am blessed. Very, very thankful. How about you?
I'm a little... I sent you an email a couple of days ago.
Oi, okay.
You know who it is.
Yeah, and I must say...
and you responded, sir, and I went back with something else. I'm going to give you 5 minutes of something that not only took place 8 years ago, and I'm going to be respectful in doing it, Dwayne, because I realize I have to live in this country. But I've lived in it, and what I've been through, if some people were to sit down and listen to what I've been through, just by being told no by a government, for 8 years it doesn't seem to care about me, much less persons affected with what I have. But before I get on that, I got to let you say what you need to say, because I got about just 5 minutes.
No, man, you go right ahead. I will listen and respond. Please,
I sent you an email a few days ago asking you to please look into why the almost, I think it's 4,000 more displaced Caymanian tourism workers, Mr. Sterling Dwayne Banks. It is now today the 18th of October. The time is 2:12 p.m. What I have to say is to the Honorable Premier. Everyone knows who the man is. I respect him for who he is. But let me say this. If you're going to keep this country on lockdown, there are certain things that you're going to have to do and do it perfectly. I don't want to hear about a system of Travel Cayman that you can implement another system to try to correct what should have been done from the first time. Fix it. We have enough employees that are government employees, whether Cayman Airways, we like to know it or not. Just like my dear friend Dwayne said, a while ago. My name is Chet Oswald Ebanks, and I want some ears to listen quietly. You can hear my parents would tell me, Dwayne, respect is earned. It's not bought in a grocery store. So this is what I'm going to say. It is the 19th of October. We were paid on the 14th, the 14th, the 18th. That was for the $1,000 stipend for July, August, and September. It came 14th of July, it came on the 14th of August, and then it came on the 18th. And then the excuses, Dwayne, started to come. We have to wait because we gave the other Caymanians that did not have access to computers or needed help, because there's a lot of us out there that are not technically savvy like me, but I assisted a few. And I'm grateful to assist my Caymanians because, Dwayne, we are hurting, and we are hurting awfully. There are families with single mothers and fathers in this country right now that are going to be evicted out of their apartments or lose their home. They have mortgages to pay, they have rent to pay, they have food to buy, they have school supplies still to buy for some of their kids. And just Monday I called the Department of Tourism, and the nice lady on the other end said to me, "Hello, you do not answer the Department of Tourism for the Cayman Islands telephone with hello." That's how she answered it to me. And I brought myself down because I'm not getting into her drama. If she came to work with a bad attitude, what you portray is what you're going to get back. Remember, respect is earned. It's not bought in supermarkets, and neither is common sense, Dwayne. The government has not paid us almost 5,000 displaced tourism workers or $1,000 stipend yet. I got attitude when I called Monday last week. I got told, we do not have a date set for the month of October yet. Called one of my other displaced tourism friends, sent her a message, sent him a message. They came back and said, "This is not right." I got called. They told them, they say, "We're waiting for the other people now. We'll soon," because the other ones that hadn't put in for whatever reason, they're waiting before they pay the ones that were already in that got from June, July, August, and September. We got to wait for all these other ones' information to be entered and sent to their banks before we can get our money. As I stated in my email, Dwayne, $1,000 barely puts a dent in some of our expenses. I am going to say this to the Premier and to the Deputy Premier. And to the Cayman Islands government once only. We want our money, the $1,000 you promised us, Mr. Premier, Honorable Mr. Premier, Mr. Alden McLaughlin. We want our money. We want it no later today in all of our accounts. I don't care what you have to go do it. If you have to line us up at the government administration building and give us $1,000 in $100, or you let the banks open up and give it to us, where the government has its money. The people of the Cayman Islands, and I'm going to speak for every displaced Caymanian tourism worker, we need our money. We have bills to pay. We are not dogs in this country. We are citizens. And as far as I know, the Cayman Islands has been subject to the human rights, the European Commission of Human Rights.
Yeah, the Convention on Human Rights.
Yeah, which a lot of Caymanians don't know. I went 2 years ago to the Human Rights Commission, and I got told the NAU and the Ministry of Community Affairs were not breaching my human rights. Well, I have an email from a certain person. I'm going to say that shortly. But anyway, Mr. Premier and Mr. Deputy Premier, my name is Chet Oswald Ebanks, born the 1st of March, 1971, in the Hare Parish of Georgetown and South Sound at the time, before we were changed to districts. Grand Cayman, I was raised in the Bragg, and I was registered on the 6th of April, 1971. So tell me if I'm not Caymanian. So why am I begging you for $1,000 when it barely puts a dent in my pocket? I had to go to the NAU, Dwayne. They gave me 3 months. I told them, Mr. Premier said we were eligible for 6, but yet they're giving others 12 months. And I have to go back and beg. I am HIV positive, Dwayne. I've been that way since the 1st of October, 2012, the 1st of October, 2012, I lost my job at a travel agency, Travel Pros. They wouldn't take me back because of what I had. I did not carry the company to court. I left it to God. And 8 years later, you see what my God, G-O-D, has done. It's closed down. God does not like ugly, Dwayne, and the government is being ugly to its people. The Premier and his unity government, the other, whatever makes it up, I didn't vote them in, and I respect them, and that's it. But you have went out on a limb and said what you're going to do for the people of the Cayman Islands. You must honor it by word. I was taught many years ago in banking to create a paper trail by one of my managers, and what you learn, you keep in your brain because nobody can take it from you. And don't think that I'm giving you something extra to do as well. Don't look at that, because when you want to go apply for that other nice position in banking that I wanted so many years later, Dwayne, I knew how to do that piece of work, so I got a job just like that. And if you, boom, got it. We must learn that if we give our words, we must properly dot our I's and cross those beautiful T's that we were written with our grammar in our primary and secondary schools. The education system of this country, doing another thing, is in a mess. A mess. But let me go back. We want our money and we want it by today. No later than 4:30. I don't care how the Premier is going to get it to us, whether they're going to call all of us because they got our cell phone numbers and get a crew on the road, deliver our money in $100 bills to us. But $1,000 doesn't do it anymore, Dwayne. I am asking the Premier on this talk show, please go back and hit it retroactive. And if anybody don't know what retroactive means, I can provide you with a description. It means back. We want to be retro paid $1,500 from July, August, and September. So what has displaced thousands of tourism workers should get no later than 4:30 today, because we're not putting up with this no more, because I will myself personally be, I don't know if anyone else will join me, but I will be on the steps of the government administration no later than 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. If I have not gotten my money by this afternoon, 4:30, Dwayne, because I have to live. Because the NAU wants me to fill out forms again. They denied me in 2018 because they said I was fit to work. Dwayne, I had been looking for jobs ever since. We want to be retro paid the balance from July, August, and September of $500 each, Mr. Premier and Deputy Premier. You give us that $1,500 retro, and then you give us $1,500 for October, sir. You give it to us going forward till December. So what we Caymanians should get displaced Caymanians, thousands of tourism workers before 4:30 today. In our accounts, sir, I don't care how you got to do it, you're going to do it. Or I'm going to see the governor, Mr. Premier. I have had enough of how I've been treated in this country. Enough is enough. I am not a dog on this street. No one will hire me. I'm going to tell you one piece of how I got hired and how I come back into tourism very shortly. But in Dwayne, we want $3,000 deposited in our bank accounts today, CI, by 4:30 today, Mr. Premier, Mr. Deputy Premier. Going forward, the displaced thousands of tourism Caymanian workers would like their $1,500. You paid it on the 14th of July, paid on 14th of November, paid on the 14th of December, and then I'm going to hit on this piece of it. If you're going to keep the border shut, sir, and keep us locked down, which I don't have a problem with, but I have to live, and I have to survive, and I have certain needs, and I have certain medications, Mr. Premier. It's called Atripla, A-T-R-I-P-L-A. It is 3 medications doing in one that allows me to live, and it's also killing me. It's called an antiretroviral, and I've been on it for over 8 years. And come the 20-something of July next year, 2021, God so I would have been HIV positive, undetectable for 8 years. I'm almost 8 years there. I have done everything the Cayman Islands government had asked me and more. And no one will hire me. I got fired from a travel agency job because I told my boss, Kevin Schwartz, I was HIV positive. I have paper trails to back it up. I have a nice email I'm going to send to you. You remember when the Premier came out last year, Dwayne, and he said about if we had concerns to come to him, accept my concerns. You want me to tell you what the Premier sent back to me? The Premier of this country signed his name to an email, and you ever hear how my God, God is mightier than any man, Dwayne? And man does nothing for me, but God does every day. He gives me life, and I'm grateful and thankful. The Premier of the Cayman Islands, the Honorable Alden McLaughlin, came back and said, Chet Oswald Ebanks, a citizen of this country. He ended it by, you come back to me in a few months' time, Dwayne. A few months' time. And I went back to the NAU in a few months' time in May to get 3 months of service. And they want me to fill out more paperwork again so that I can pay my rent and live off of $300. But yet, the Premier came back in December and answered me 2018 and said, come back to me in a few months' time and let me know how you are getting on. That is the leader of this country, Dwayne. And you know how he signed his pretty name. He typed it behind that phone or computer, wherever he was. If he even wrote it at that, I don't even know and I don't care. He signed it, God bless Alden. And I'm going to send it to you shortly, Dwayne, so you can read it. I'm not lying. That is the leader of our free country, a democratic country, the Cayman Islands. And I'm going to hit on another subject. I said I wanted what I wanted for all HIV-infected persons and AIDS who are Caymanian going forward from this day. The laws of the land needs to change. We want indefinite housing, whether you have to fill homes and call it a HIV community, because apparently what I have, there are some idiots in this society that I still live in think you can get it from talking to me, touching me. They don't understand there is worse diseases, sexually transmitted diseases out there that is worse than what I have. I have had one of my doctors at the beautiful Georgetown Hospital, and let me tell you, Dwayne, it would not be amiss without giving them a round of the biggest applause. You hear when the applause goes off for Miss World when she went to Miss Universe? Well, I give the great folks at the HSA all the God blessings. They are the most amazing human beings. They have respected me from day one, and they still do. And without them, Dwayne, I would not be alive today. I went from private doctors diagnosing me, and I met a young lady at the HSA who is in charge of HIV coordination. And I'm not going to call that young lady's name, but I'm going to say this. If it wasn't for her and the doctors and the medical team at the HSA, Chet Oswald Ebanks would not be here and alive. We don't even have a support group for us HIV/AIDS persons because people scorn us, Dwayne, in this country. They don't care about us. The government doesn't care about us, and that's evident. It's the 19th of August, almost 3 p.m., and the Premier has not honored his words to the 5,000 or more or less on displaced tourism workers of the Cayman Islands that he said he would give us $1,000 to. Excuse me. I'm out in the rain because I had to say this in the rain. I'm down at one of my most beautiful places, Dwayne, right now. And I'm going to send you some pictures when I get home.
Yeah, man.
And Dwayne, you have to come with your family, Dwayne. Great snorkeling and how it's undisturbed now. You come at night, you can see bioluminescence for free. You can snorkel out here. It's beautiful. It's right down the road in beautiful district of West Bay. And you know when people tell me they hate West Bay, you know what my answer is to them, Dwayne Sterling Ebanks? I say you must hate yourself, because if you hate West Bay, then you hate yourself. But this is a beautiful country. God has given us a chance, and I'm going to hit on another thing. There is a song out, Dwayne, and I will send you that too. And there's a description on it. It's called Far Away from Home. You just go to YouTube, you hit the search bar, and just type in Far Away from Home. It will pop instantly up, Dwayne. It popped up for me the other day when it came up on one of my recommended songs because of the music I like. And I'll just say this. It's about one of us humans. It's a song written for COVID-19. And if you click more on the description below, it will explain to you what this human being did. It is not real. It hasn't happened. But this is what the song writes about. He booked a one-way flight to the solar system, space flight, to find a planet that was not destroyed by man. And ever so often he looked back on that little speck he called home, and he realized something had happened. And you know COVID-19, it talks about that, and it says, home is where the heart is. And he realized people were doing better. They were nicer to one another, some of us, because there's still some of us that just not got it yet. And God has upon us all of this rain. Most Caymanians don't even know what an American gyre is or gyro weather phenomenon, but I do because I grew up in the Caribbean and my father taught me about weather systems, and as I got my smartphones over the years, I learned to read the weather and listen to the reports and listen to the experts. That's why I can tell people this is going to make into something, and it's going to be another direct hit for us, or it's going to be a warning. God has sent COVID-19 to the world to warn us. He is knocking at our heart's door and saying, knock, knock, world. I am big world that I gave you. I'm still here. I created Adam. Adam disobeyed me in the Garden of Eden by eating the forbidden fruit, and created Eve and created sin, Dwayne. And the churches are talking about all of this sin that the LGBTQ community is carrying on with. They're going on an uproar about how the governor had to use the
hello?
powers.
Okay. Yeah, we're starting to lose you.
Yeah, the powers came from Her Majesty's United Kingdom government. And if the Cayman Islands government, like I said before, cannot adhere to a simple $1,000 stipend, honor the word it gave to its people, the leader of this free country, the Cayman Islands, Cayman Brac, Grand Cayman and Little Cayman, how can they honor their word? The 19 of them sat in the LA and went on, Gene, and not one of them would give a bly or a wink because they don't like gay people. They despise their own Caymanian people. Be careful. I tell people, be careful what you put out there, because if you put good out, you get good 1,000 times. It might not always come to you, but it'll come to some family member or friend. If you put out bad, you're going to get it 1,000 times. I've seen it repeated with the amount of places. The beautiful airlines that I love, Cayman Airways, that refused to hire me because someone in there, after being a travel agent for 6 years, Dwayne, they just didn't want me in there after I lost my job. Sabre system is even easier to learn than WorldSpan. When everything is done by numbers and dots and this and that. I'm a smart person. My own national airline wouldn't hire me because there are those in there that did not want a gay person in there with HIV sitting next to them, Dwayne. I had to hound the airline down for 2 weeks to find out if I had went to training about 4 years ago, and I got told no. They sent me interview when I asked for the freedom of information on my interview. Sent me freedom of information for somebody else, but it was not Chet Oswald because I'd never worked at the airline. They said I had applied there before and got hired and was in this position, and I had applied again, they wasn't hiring me. It wasn't my information because I wasn't hired, but the human rights head, the manager, she sent me someone else interview details from years ago at Cayman Airways that used to work there. That's wrong. Anyhow, I will end with this. I put in for my $1,000 stipend, Dwayne, under my email. I worked at a little gift shop, and I'm going to call the name. Everybody know who it is. But I'm going to say this, and I want the police to get involved because fraud is being committed against the Cayman Islands government with this $1,000 stipend. There are certain employees that own tourism businesses. Dwayne, I was employed. I don't know, employed there no more because the person wanted to take $100 out of every $1,000 that I was going to get from me, Dwayne. That person, my Caymanian employer, wanted $100 out of every $1,000 government was going to give me. And I told her, no, Dreen. She was committing fraud against the government. And you know what else she has done? The only person that worked at Hell store was Chet Oswald Bank. And I got about 30 to 50 tour and taxi operators. Like our criminal's license can vouch for me that I went there every day mostly. That was the only person at that store, Dwayne. So I want the police to investigate her. And there's many more that has put in for Caymanians. Her word was to me, she was putting in for it to help them out. But yet she wants $100 out of every $1,000 you're going to get. I told her no, she wasn't getting it from me. I needed it. I had to basically beg the NAU for 3 months. And her words were to me, you better be grateful you got 3 months. But that same woman wanted and promised me to call a certain MLA in Georgetown, which she never did, because, you know, when I told her my paperwork was in, and he said, just call, he would speed up the process. When they called that Georgetown MLA, you know what they told him? Or she said to me, I can't get him now, he's in the LA. That is the LA members. They don't care about us either. One more thing and I'm gone. I have just come from a walk in West Bay, and I'm still walking, going to finish it. I walk throughout West Bay because I exercise. The commissioner of police either going to fix the problem today, Dwayne, or I come and see him tomorrow morning too. So I come in straight at the commissioner, I'm bypassing the West Bay police, the police officers at the West Bay police station, because the good old police officers at the West Bay police station, in my dealing with them and having situations happen, I have about 5% I can go to and get results. So I'm fooling with them. I go into the head honcho, Mr. Bryan. I think that's his name. You need to show a police presence, Sir Commissioner of Police of the Cayman Islands. You and the rest of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Force are getting paid big dollars. I do not want to see you driving up and down like I saw just now when I was coming down off of Andresen Road onto Conch Point Road where I walk. I don't want to see you driving around in some $60,000 Ford Explorer with fancy lights. Because when we see you like that with the windows closed up, you instill fear in us Caymanians and residents. You instill fear in us. You don't instill nothing but fear. During a couple of months ago, before COVID, I stopped two police officers down in Mount Pleasant coming out by the shores there where the roads meet one woman. I said, there is someone on two riders on dirt bikes gone to the left. I told them 3 times the left. They just left. You just missed them. They're illegal riders carrying on with the food. They went to the right. They could have cared less. That's what's happening in West Bay. Yesterday evening, 2 days evenings ago, I walked from Foster down on Northwest Point Road, from Foster's and Republic down through Watercourse, down there, and I went to my home. I didn't see one police car, Green. But what I did see was reckless drivers on the roads of West Bay, and I have a very bright flashlight on my phone because I've downloaded an even brighter one that comes with it. And it can blink and do all kind of fancy stuff. And they almost 10 vehicles almost knocked me off the road. I had to go in the bushes. So I would like the commissioner to do something with his fine officers. We the public, we keep getting told we have fine police officers that are protecting us. So
yeah, Chet, you there?
So why not show their presence? Am I still there?
You are. But you know what? Maybe we'll get a chance to chat with you some more. What are final thoughts you want to leave with us?
Green? Yeah, sorry, my headphones went.
Yeah.
We have fine. I'm going to end with this. We have fine police officers apparently in all of the substations and in central Georgetown, the head police station. But we need someone in West Bay because we are paying officers not to drive up and down fancy vehicles, but to protect the public. And I want to see a presence of... I have lived in West Bay at my location for almost 5 years. I haven't seen one police community officer come and introduce themselves to me yet, Dwayne. Not one. So they need to get on all these. They can buy these fancy $16,000, $80,000 fast or firearm response SUVs from Chevrolet and destroy them in a heartbeat like the Cayman Islands voters' money doesn't matter. Well, if the government can waste money on that, it can surely give us displaced 4,000 tourism workers or more $1,500 a month retroactive from July the 14th. We want our money, Dwayne, by 4:30 today, no later. I expect the Premier to come out with a press briefing and fix all of this that I've asked him for pretty soon. But please start, Mr. Honorable Premier, Mr. Alden McLaughlin, and the Honorable Moses Kukarnell from Kim Bragg. We want our 3,000 CI dollars retroactive plus the 1,500 for October. Today, the 19th, no later than 4:30 p.m. Don't care if you got to line us up and give us $3,000 in $100 bills. I would gladly take it because I got things I need to do. Thanks for being. God bless you. And I will send you the pictures, the email from the Honorable Premier, Mr. Alden McLaughlin, and a nice letter from the NAU director. I'll be amiss if I forget her. Miss Tamara Halston is a nice lady at the NAU, but she should have never put her name to a piece of paper and denied me services in 2018 and gave me no notice.
Yeah, man.
And if it wasn't for the fact that I had pension that the government made me go access, which I have none now left for the 3 years, I want every penny of that paid back by the Cayman Islands government before the end of the month, or I have this to say to the Honorable Premier and his unity government. The next call I make, Dwayne, will be to the governor's office. I think I stated this to you in my email. If I don't get what I'm asking, the Cayman Islands government will pay a lot more out. If you see me walk down the door from the governor's office to get legal aid and sue the Cayman Islands government in a court of law in Grand Cayman and in Europe for breach of my human rights under the European Commission of Human Rights, since the Cayman Islands government, if nobody knows, has been subject to since the 1950s, Dwayne. And let me end by this. Our good old mother country, God bless them, because they're in crisis. America is in crisis, Dwayne. Then both of those countries need new leadership, and I pray the Queen intervenes and gets rid of Boris Johnson, and I pray the good people of the United States get rid of Donald Trump, because if not, they're doomed. Boris Johnson wants the United Kingdom to come out of the European Union in January without a trade deal.
Hey, Chet, I love talking to politics, and I certainly want to make sure you have opportunity, but let's call it that for today. And leave the politics for another time. All right. Chat? Cool. All right, listen. It's good to listen, and I'm glad that people feel that they have the opportunity. Apologies for the next segment. We've gone into yours by almost 12. But thank you for listening and sharing. Thanks to callers for their contributions, and we invite you tomorrow to be a part of our discussion. We do have MLA Chris Saunders, hopefully, able to join us for the first hour and a half or so. And then we got some discussions lined up with our friends over at HSA. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
My journey.
The Wesleyan Holiness Churches of the Cayman Islands would like to announce their 8th annual Cayman Islands District Wesleyan Youth Convention, running the 21st to Sunday the 25th of October at the Cradock E-Bank Civic Center in Northside. Opening ceremonies on the 21st at 7:30 p.m. with the convention 7:30 p.m. nightly Wednesday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday, 10:30 a.m. on Sunday. This year's theme is Why I Am a Christian, #MyJourney, featuring homegrown speakers Caitlin Bush, Latoya Francis, Donnie McCoy, and Gavin Lothian. Each night will also feature local talent from across the island of Grand Cayman. Don't miss out on this amazing opportunity to grow in your faith and have a great time doing so. Bus service will be provided nightly from Georgetown at the A.L. Thompson's parking lot. Call Cassandra Ebanks on 925-1930 or Pastor Conway King on 916-5372 for further information. Nightly services will also be live on the Northside Wesleyan Holiness Church Facebook page.
My journey.